the Navy game that is always weird anyways. Like the Navy game is always its own thing just because of all the Navy-ness. All of that. With the all of it. With the energy of the uniqueness of that game, how it's played, the history, like all of it. It's just all unique. And it is every year. And it certainly is a lot more now. Yeah, that's funny. It said you're going to get a copyright mark for singing that song. I'm not allowed to sing 5 seconds of it. It was out of tune. Give me a break, Brian. So this is just it's just a weird dynamic always when you're playing Navy. And then you put it up against the weirdness of last week that we're not used to. And it's just a lot. V1 rotate. Listen, Chris, everybody, if you weren't here earlier in the week, I'm having problems with Google. I'm going to have to reboot my monetization thing with them and restart it all. On the back end, something got tied up. I'm working with them. Super Chat's not going to be a thing for about a month. Even when I get this rebooted, there's no way to speed it up with Google. It is what it is. I have to restart the whole thing. It's not ideal, but we're going to do what we're going to do. And we're going to have a good show and make it through anyways. So just so you know, anybody that wants Super Chat, it's not going to be available for a while, probably a month by the time it gets reset. I'm working on Patreon, PayPal. If anybody feels obligated, I'm not going to tell you you can't donate, but it's not going to be easy and through here for a while. It's just the way it is. Not ideal, but Google's Google. You got to do what you got to do. So I got to reset that. PayPal, JKZND4 at Yahoo is the email you can PayPal to. Appreciate it. Don't expect it. Happy to be here with you guys anyways. We'll make it through and Super Chat will be back so we can make a couple bucks. But I appreciate you guys asking. So let's do some introductions here. We got some phone calls. I want to know what you think. Do you love the Navy game? Do you not like the Navy game? Where are you at on this? It's a unique dynamic every time. So let's get into this. YouTube, obviously subscribe if you're here. I appreciate it. Why not subscribe if you're here all the time anyways? Give the video a thumbs up. That helps as well. Notifications on. You'll be alerted every time a new episode drops. Twitter, search bar, always Irish rat. Always Irish ink. Here's the deal, you guys. I got to be totally honest with you. I'm struggling this week. And the reason I'm struggling this week is I'm having problems with Twitter and some of the stuff that's changing there, and it's changing my normal Twitter routine. And you just log in and you don't know what's changing hour to hour. And then I got a YouTube thing going on too, affecting the revenue side. Not the best week for me with the two platforms I use to run this show, both kind of having some issues. I don't love it, but we're going to make it through. All right. But I had to get that out. Email's always irishnd@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want me. You can get me 312-900-8815. We got a few callers here, and we're going to get to them. I want to know, if you're a Notre Dame fan, do you love the Navy game? Do you hate the Navy game? Is it your favorite? Is it your least favorite? What do you think about the way they shorten the game? You're going to get less possessions. You got to be better on the ones you have. There's a lot that goes into it. So let's do the roll call, and then we'll get to some calls. Let's see. First things first here. Paul's always here looking to donate. Not possible right now. Appreciate you, Paul. Always here. ND9. Deborah Thomas, always here. Good morning. Kent, how are you, Kent? Thanks for being here. Chris, it's always good to see Chris. Let's see. Look at this. Chris says, good morning, Irish Nation. I've decided to celebrate my 50th birthday by attending my first Notre Dame home game. I live in Washington State. I've only seen the Irish once against Washington. Chris, there's a lot to see and a lot to do. Find a way to reach out to me. Email me or something if you haven't yet. You may have already emailed me, and I'll hook you up with some things you got to see, got to do, when to do them to make it easier, a better experience, all that. We'll go over that. Happy to help you. The other thing is happy Veterans Day. Angela Rudiger here. She's only here for a while, going to do Veterans Day stuff at her kid's school. Listen, happy Veterans Day to everybody who served, and a lot of people in our chat have. So thank you to everybody that served. I mean, we wouldn't have the freedoms we have in this country without those sacrifices. So thanks to everybody who served, everybody who's in a military family, the sacrifices you have to make, all of that, okay? All of that. So I'm glad, man, what a good group we have. Like, of the consistent people that are here all the time, almost everybody in the chat was putting Veterans Day stuff. It's a respectful group, and I'm glad we have it. Bruce, the Format Podcast, good to see you here. Jump over there, check out his information. Oh, boy. Paul says, watch the rerun of ND Clemson twice. Hey, I'm telling you, a moment like that, rewatch it. You don't get a lot of them. You don't get a lot of them if you're a Notre Dame fan. Embrace them. Here's some realness. Everybody, if you were here a while, phone calls, you're coming up. 484-737-609-562 coming up. That's the first bank of calls. One Sock Billy. Everybody will remember the other day before the monetization issue happened for me, One Sock Billy donated a crisp $100 bill. So that is most appreciated. And when my issue gets cleared up, I'll get that payment sent to me. Great job, Marcus, on the win. Let's not forget, Tommy's still Tommy, Pine's still Pine, the QB room's still empty. Love the energy, recruiting. Let's go. One Sock, they're making some fair points. Another thing I want to know from you guys is, do you feel different about Tommy now that we're on a little winning streak? The game plan was good last week against Clemson. Like, do we feel better about all that? Or do you say, yeah, they did this, but it wasn't because of the quarterback situation? Like, that's not why we won that game, is the quarterback doing a lot. We were able to run, all of those kind of things. So has your position on Tommy changed? Or do you say it was great what we were able to do last week, but the quarterback's still a problem? Like, that doesn't change Pine getting balls batted down and, a 50% completion rate or whatever. So I want to know what you think on that. No doubt recruiting's heating back up after this win. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Telling you, it's beautiful. Willie Hardigan, good to see you here. We should do other partnerships with Navy, not play them in football. The history is great. It doesn't have to be honored on a football field. Here's what I've always said about this game. I love the history and I hate the gameplay. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you the truth. I love the history of this, the story I respect, all of it. I'm well aware of all of it. However, the actual game is my least favorite of the year. I do not like the way the game is played. I respect the game. I respect the Naval Academy. I respect the history of the story. I don't like the game. They shorten the game, which means you have to be more perfect. They run a unique offense that sometimes, more than certain years, for one reason or another, is harder to stop than it should be. It ramps the pressure up on you to have to be more precise with what you're doing. That's why teams run the triple option. When they know they're outmanned, you have to out-scheme it. Try and eat up the clock, take up time, and minimize the physical mismatches by the way they do this. I don't like it. The blocks, even if they're legal, they're too low for me, and I don't like it. Even if you're not getting real injuries, it's a rough recovery week the week after. There's a lot of things to be nervous about. There just is. There just is. And so for those reasons, it's my least favorite Notre Dame game to watch of the year. Constant anxiety when they have the ball. How are you going to stop it? All of that. All of that. It's just an annoying game that I don't enjoy watching. It is my least favorite one in the year. I want to get it out of the way. I like it when this game is week one. Do it and get it done. That's what I figure. V1 rotate. 3-6 team coming off a big win. I'm assuming Red Flag Central. It's a big question. Mikey Poles, good to see you here. He is, I believe, a world champion weightlifter, was at the championships in Australia, just got back doing big work there. Congratulations, Mikey. That's the other big question. 484, you're coming up first. That's the other big question is, how is Notre Dame going to show up in this game to start? That's a big question I have. Is that energy and momentum going to carry over from where we ended with Clemson? Or is that too much to ask? Are we going to come in there looking all slow like we've been reading our own clippings all week? Like, these are some of the issues you got to worry about. There's no way to replicate the energy and vibe that the Notre Dame game had last week. There just isn't. You can't just manufacture that energy. You got to be able to play and win anyways. Create your own energy and your own reason to go play well and be locked in. Can they do it? I don't know. Elon should pay for some NIL deals. Well, I'm telling you, I don't know what he's doing with Twitter, but people aren't happy. Yeah, 44 watching, only 8 likes. I can't tell how many likes there are. Go ahead and hit like if you're in here. Manny, what's up, Manny? Good to see you. Mikey, I'm with you. Respect the hell out of the Navy, but I also think it's boring. I just don't like the way the game's played. It just doesn't appeal to me. Hate playing Navy energies, Terry Moore. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Smash that like button like our linesman needs tomorrow. I like that. Oh, that's funny. Chris, happy birthday. Reach out. We'll figure out so I could get you some information, some good stuff you got to see and do. Caesar, good morning. Good to see you here, Caesar. Off and on. I love it when you could catch us. Good morning, Irish Nation. Yes, I watched the replay twice as well. Let's go beat Navy. I'm telling you, it's great. It really is great. Deb says, my husband did Vietnam also. That's a tough one. I got relatives who are in Vietnam. Some of them can't even talk about it. Others will. They saw and went through a lot over there. Tough. It's tough stuff. And it's still carried on with those guys. You don't forget that stuff. It's with you forever when you live through that. If you're fortunate enough to live through it and make it home. Here we go. This is a game to take some shots. You know what's interesting about that is Navy's given up 250-something yards through the air every week. And like not even a lot through the ground, surprisingly, probably based on who they play. I think Notre Dame should be able to do what they want. Run the ball, pass the ball. I just think you should be able to do what you want. Force your will this week. I'm sorry. They're undersized. Come on. They're undersized. You should be able to do what you want to do. I'm for real. All right. We got a bunch of phone calls. Let's see what you think. 484-737-609-562-937. All right. That's the first bank up. 484, you are on the air. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, John. What's going on, man? I've been watching your channel for years, but this is my first time calling in.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I could see on the call screen it was your first call. That always excites me. I like new people that want to get in the mix. But thank you very much for your support in the phone call. So first off, what's your take, since we haven't talked before, on last week's big win and what that means and changes for you? And then how you think Navy's going to go tomorrow. Very unique setup with Navy. It always is. It's a unique game. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, so about last week, it was a couple of weeks ago after the Q's win. I was sitting around with my sister and my brother-in-law. We were watching the game, and they're Penn State alum, they're Penn State grads, and I was like, yeah, man. I think Notre Dame, we're a team to watch out for. And everybody laughed at me, man. The whole family, barreling over laughing. Yeah, right. Notre Dame team to watch out for. You guys are playing Clemson next week. And well, guess what? Nobody's laughing now.
Yep.
Or we're laughing now.
Yep, man. That was the kind of win. I've been saying this. That's the kind of win we begged Kelly to have the entire time he was here. Big game, big moment, top ranked, top 5 undefeated team. Not only do you win, but you make a statement. And it was really, really nice to get that. And it was needed. Rough year, tough start for Marcus. Good for recruiting, 60 something guys there. It was fantastic, man. It was exactly what we've all been begging for.
It was. I think, maybe other than when we beat number one Clemson back in 20. I mean, I think those two games for me, two best games in my lifetime.
Well, but here's what I struggle with. The one in 20 was very difficult because you didn't have any crowd presence because of COVID. And it's hard for me to brag about that one on the same level as this one because the best player in college football, Lawrence, wasn't playing in the game. So I can't I can't overlook the fact that that star quarterback wasn't there. And the other thing is, even though we won, we gave up mid 40s or upper 40s in points. This was different in the way we shut them down, too. I look at that. That matters to me, too.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Hey, John. So moving on to Navy.
Sure.
I'm going to the game tomorrow because I live in Arlington, Virginia. So I'm going to the game bright and early tomorrow. Really, really looking forward to it. For prediction, I'll say like 42-12 or something like that.
Okay.
The Navy traditions, and the rivalry you were talking about it earlier, I'm torn on it too. I think it's a great story, the history of the rivalry and everything like that. At the same time, I could really live if, we dropped Navy off the schedule and put Michigan back on, or put another team on there that we have a history with, or it's just a big name and we get a shot at them every year. So that's my thoughts on the Navy game.
Yeah, it's really touchy, man. It's all over the board with this fan base. Some people absolutely love it because of the tradition and the history and embrace the game. I embrace all the off-field stuff. On the field, it is the single game I look forward to the least every year. And here's the thing, man. They shorten the game. That's the whole point of running that kind of offense, is to shorten the game. Teams often get half the amount of normal possessions they get playing anybody else against these guys. What that means is your margin for error is smaller. You can't put the ball on the ground. You can't have 3 and outs. You can't have dumb mistakes. It puts an emphasis on you scoring when you do get a chance. And I don't always like that pressure coming to Notre Dame because Notre Dame's offense has been iffy a lot of the time. Am I overthinking that concern at all? Or is this Navy team so bad with only 3 wins it doesn't matter? Am I over worrying?
I think you might be, don't worry too much, but I do have like a disaster scenario in the back of my mind where, Navy somehow, maybe a couple fumbles or something, that they go up on us, 14-0 or something, in the second quarter. And then it's like panic time and the pass game is struggling. And then it's like a struggle comeback win for Notre Dame. I don't see us dropping it, but I could see like, a struggle, ugly game like the Ball State game a couple of years ago.
Yep. Now, on the flip side of that, I could see that too. And it would be a very natural type of letdown given everything last week. Like I could see that dynamic. What would really indicate to me that this thing's turned a major, major corner is if they come out and have energy that you could tell they're still flying high after last week and parlay that into playing sharp and assignment discipline football this week against Navy. That indicates to me a real a turn has been made here. So I'm hopeful that they come out ready to go because you gotta be, or this game's going to be anxiety provoking.
Absolutely. I want to see play one, play action over the top of Lindsay, something.
Yep, it should be there. These guys give up, I think it was over 250 yards passing per game. The rushing yardage wasn't that bad, but I think Notre Dame could force that if they want, just by their bulk. And that tells me you should be able to do a little bit of whatever you want. You want to roll him out, work on that passing game. Mayer should be open over the middle, batting down these little guys all day. Like there should be mismatches, but you have to be precise with what you're doing. And that's always the challenge playing Navy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe, I haven't really looked at their schedule. I know they're playing the AAC, so I'm not too sure who they played this year. but for their rush defense, I mean, certainly they haven't gone up against the O-line like this. So,
yeah, you would think, man. Listen, if you run the ball for 263 against Clemson's defense, forgive me for thinking you could name the yardage you want to run it for this week. Like, am I thinking too much of this? Like, 263 against Clemson, these guys don't have the bulk up front, man. You should just be able to bully them. I mean, Estime may end some careers tomorrow.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. But, at the same time, I mean, we know how it's going with Navy in the past. They kind of have – those kids kind of have a different mentality. They fight hard, so like they kind of play a little bit bigger than their size, I guess.
Yeah, they always do. And you know what? That's another unique feature about this game that I love and hate. I love that fact that those guys never fight. They have a different mentality, all of that. Like, I think that's fantastic because they're in the military. That's the mindset you need to have to be successful in the military. At the same time, it's annoying because it's annoying to play against because they just never quit and keep going. It's a double-edged thing there.
It is. Well, hey, John, go Irish, man.
Beautiful. Hey, thanks for the call, man. Give me a call afterwards. We'll reconvene and see how we feel that it went. But thanks a lot for the call. Always love getting some new people in. Save the phone number. Give me a call anytime, man. Enjoy the game.
Thanks, brother.
Take care.
Go Irish. Bye.
Go Irish. It's always good to have a new caller in the mix. Let's see. Brad Henry. I'm not a big Freeman fan, but that will pan out. Tommy Reese is not the guy. It's not good enough to just beat your opponents. It's the way you do it. We need an up-tempo air raid type offense. Listen, I'd like Notre Dame to be able to have the power run mentality and ability to do so if you need to, and be able to throw the ball around. And I think that's the goal in a few years to get to that point. That's why they're recruiting all these good wide receivers. So I don't know. Joe says, not used to seeing so many 3-and-outs. Love the progress that Bertrand has shown since targeting calls. Yeah, he really has. Yeah, and it's a Bertrand type game too, with the way they run and fitting in those gaps. And that's the thing with the defense. Like, I know that we talk a lot about those linebackers. 737, you're coming up next. Those linebackers. We talk about how they've been this year, kind of inconsistent. We expected a little more out of them. Wanted them to be a plus unit coming into the year. Is that how it played out? That kind of thing. Got to be accurate tomorrow. You got to be assignment sound. You got to be disciplined. You got to know where you got to be and be there. You need crisp tackling. Playing defense against Navy is an exact science, less than it is an art. And I mean that. You have got to be sound and you got to be right on it and disciplined and know your role. Like The Rock said in the late 90s, know your role and be there and be disciplined. They were great at that last week. Let's see if that continues. Next caller, 737, then 609, 562, 707. That's what we're doing. 737, you're on the air. Good morning.
John, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm just preparing myself that we're moving on from the Clemson game and there's more football to play and you can't just look back and be happy. We have a job to take care of tomorrow. What are your thoughts about the Navy game overall and this one tomorrow?
Overall, I'm not a fan of the game, personally speaking. However, and let me start by saying Happy Veterans Day to everybody on the line who has served or has had family that served. It's a big deal.
You know what? That makes me a jerk.
Take it for granted.
That makes me a jerk. I'm like, oh yeah, Happy Veterans Day to everybody. And I hate the Navy game. Like, it's the next thing I say. You're like, but it's like, I respect everything about it except for when they kick it off, what the actual gameplay looks like. I like everything else about it except for that. It's just an annoying game as a Notre Dame fan, is my opinion.
I don't disagree. I think the thing I appreciate the tradition, and I think, frankly speaking, that it shows that Notre Dame is a pretty stand-up outfit. That hey, listen, every year Notre Dame is Navy's biggest game. It does a lot for them. It gives them a pretty large magnifying glass. The fact that they're able to play Notre Dame every year. I'm sure the kids that are playing for Navy look up to that game every year, as do many. And so I'm not a fan of the game. I'm more a fan of the tradition. And again, I think it makes me appreciate Notre Dame being a stand-up program, that they continue with that tradition. I think that says a lot about the school, the and everything else that goes with it. However, not a huge fan of the game for all the reasons that you've listed. And at the same time, contradict that with saying Happy Veterans Day, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I like? You know what I like? And I think this is the setup next year. Somebody remind me if I'm incorrect. If you're going to do the Navy game, I've always said make it game 1. So you could prep for it in August and just get it out of the way. Because Navy preps hard. I know like the last few weeks I heard in practice, they were doing Navy stuff because it's so unique to prepare for. They were spending some time implementing some of the Navy stuff gradually. Like, so the preparation's unique. I like those Navy ones. Get it out of the way first week, then you're just done with it. And so, but I'm with you. I like everything about it, and I'm a pageantry guy. That's why I like college football history and Notre Dame, like all the pageantry of in romanticism of college football. It's just something about that option and that low blocking and the way they eat the clock. It just rubs me the wrong way and stresses me out every year.
I think it's good. I think it's good for the players to see that. Again, they have to be disciplined, and so learning that discipline is just going to help them out. I think moving forward. But the low blocks and everything else, like I said, not a fan of that in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, so we'll see. I'd love to just keep on living on the coattails of the Clemson win, but we know that can't happen. We got to start moving forward and looking at obviously Navy and BC and then USC, and we'll see how that goes.
I'm telling you, man, it's wild to think that we had our third loss on October 15th, and this team could be in a position to end up with 10 wins at the end of the year. It is perfectly realistic looking at what's ahead. And that would be an unbelievable turnaround. Don't you agree? Like, what a great turnaround. And especially with the teams it means we would have beaten in the second half. That would be terrific.
Huge turnaround. I think you got to give credit to Marcus Freeman, for how we started up, how he's righting the ship. I mean, again, perspective, we have to wait and look at the next 2 weeks. We can speculate, we could talk, but there's still factual information. The factual information is that we have not been great against not great teams. And so we'll see how that goes. There's a few pluses we have. I mean, hey, we're playing away from home, but now you see what happened home last week. That kind of throws that kind of away.
Right. Now, can I bring this up? Can I bring this up while you're on that point? Because I've been thinking about that too. Here's what I think I like. We got into a routine with Kelly. And by routine, I mean we got to a point with Kelly where you pretty much knew he was going to beat all the teams we should beat. And then we're going to lose in any one of those big matchups. And it's probably going to look ugly. Like, that is just my default with Kelly over the years. What my experience told me, that's what you're going to get. You're going to beat most teams you should beat with him. And in the biggest games, you're just dead. And that's pretty much what we saw, with very few exceptions. Oklahoma 2012 is one of them. Very few, though. What I think I like is the Freeman thing is already different. Yeah, we had some unexpected losses that wouldn't have happened with Kelly. But on the flip side of the inconsistency, we got a high-level win that was impressive. I don't think we would have got under Kelly. So at least I'm seeing that the flow here is different. Does that make sense at all? Like, it's just a different flow with this guy so far, good and bad.
Yeah, I think the tide is changing a little bit. I think the argument that everybody's making now is, and you speak to it all the time, so I love when you get all riled up about it. But talking about, hey, you wish you had Kelly now when they beat Alabama.
No, I don't. I don't. No, I don't. What does it matter to me? What does it matter to me that he's doing it there? He had multiple chances to do it here and never came close. So now that he did it down there, I'm supposed to want that? No, thanks. I'm good.
No, I answered the question in the same way. No, I don't want him back. Hey, listen, again, no ill will. Don't ever want the bad karma. Good luck to Brian Kelly. And, there's no denying it's going to be easier. It's a different type of athlete. It's a different type of student athlete that goes to LSU compared to Notre Dame, just the way it is. And there's no way that anybody can say that it's not easier to recruit at LSU over Notre Dame. It certainly is. There's a lot of different things. So you're going to get a lot more, we'll say, talent per se over at LSU.
Good for him.
Based on the restrictions
good
that we
for
have.
him.
Yeah.
Good for him. Like, go for it.
And good for him.
Listen, man, I'm telling you, this is the biggest thing here. This matters in Notre Dame more than most places. It just does. What I'm going to say. I'm telling you, man, being at that game last week, the feeling of that crowd was genuinely happy for ourselves, selfishly. People were genuinely happy for Marcus. It was personal. You felt like he wanted that win for you and you wanted it for him, and it mattered to both of us personally. It's a totally different vibe over there. It's more familial. It's more open. It lends itself to positive feelings. Like the whole Marcus Freeman thing is that personality leads it. And last week was a great example of that. And the vibe over there is one that I love. I think it's healthy and it's great.
A few people have asked me, what do I think about Notre Dame? And I agree. I think last week was huge. The vibe, it felt different. People said, hey, do you think Kelly's a better coach or Freeman's doing a better coaching job? I said, man, it's really hard to compare the two. But if I'm really breaking it down and you're really looking at it, I think Freeman's doing a better job only because you look at what he inherited as far as a depleted roster, no quarterback, first-time head coach, building a brand new thing. Like there's more variables, or we'll say more roadblocks to success on the Freeman side.
Now, you know what else though, too? You know what else though, too? Listen, Kelly had his own challenges going to LSU. He had to flip a lot of that roster in the portal. Like he was dealing with some problems there. Like there was a lot to clean up, and good for him for doing it. That doesn't mean that I want him back. Like, why can't all of this be true? It was time for Kelly to move on from Notre Dame. We knew it. He knew it. He moved on. If he's doing well at LSU, good for him. I'm happy with Freeman. Right now, everybody wins. Why is there got to be a loser in this right now? Right now, everybody wins. I'm not saying Kelly sucks at coaching. No, I'm just saying I'm glad he's not mine anymore. Why isn't that fair?
People like to be more finite in terms of their thoughts. There's not a gray area or middle ground that they tend to like. You got to look at Kelly. Like you could see, and I don't know, I don't follow recruiting for LSU or anything like that, but I certainly do for Notre Dame. You could see where the Notre Dame recruiting is going, certainly since the Clemson game. I think that was Kelly's big flaw at Notre Dame, though. And the question is, hey, what's LSU going to look like in 2 or 3 years? And again, they have a better time recruiting, but I wouldn't want Kelly back. We'll have to see what's happening.
It was just time. It was just time, and everybody knew it, including Kelly. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm very appreciative of the rebuild he did when he first took over, and then when he had to burn it down after 16 and do it again. I'm very appreciative of the stability he provided. However, it was just time, and we're all moving on. And right now, everybody's happy, and I can live with that. But this Freeman thing, his personality makes it really, really easy to jump on board and want that guy to succeed just as a guy. And that's not something you could say under Kelly. Even when things went well at Notre Dame, his personality was rough to get it to hug and want to get around. This is different, and it's healthy, right. And I love it. I love it. And last week was a sign of what this could be on the high end for Notre Dame. And they did it with what will be Marcus Freeman's weakest roster the whole time he's at Notre Dame. This will be his weakest team. And I love that. That's a good sign.
I think, and I'll leave LSU kind of and the difference. I think Marcus Freeman has done a better job. I think when you look at it, Freeman, Kelly is more about Kelly, and I feel like Freeman's more about the school, the tradition.
That is, man.
Kelly was a stepping stone.
You named it. You named it. When I get asked, and I have been asked, especially the last week, now that this big win is in there, I've been asked that. What is the difference? That when I talk about that feel, that is the number one thing I say is Kelly has always been about Kelly. What makes Kelly look good? What makes Kelly look bad? Everything was based on Kelly, Kelly, Kelly. Freeman bases it on Notre Dame. And the people that have a history of winning big at Notre Dame have always been the coaches and embraced and realized it's about that golden dome before it's about me. Every coach that has had long-term success at Notre Dame had that mentality. It was about Notre Dame, and they loved that golden dome more than they cared about their credit, their name, their popularity. Freeman has that. It's healthy. It works at Notre Dame, and I love it.
Yeah, again, listen, I hope he does well over there, and I hope when we play him, we do even better. And obviously that'll be awesome, because at some point, whether I know people are talking about playoffs this year, but or excuse me, not playoffs, bowl game, but at some point we will play LSU in the next few years. I mean, whether again it's a playoff situation, whether it's a bowl game, it will happen, and I can't wait for that to take place. I'll go to, you had asked, you said, how can you not worry? Like you said, do you think it's off where you're worrying about Navy? And how can you not worry about Navy? Again, if you're looking at factual information for the year, losing to Stanford, losing to Marshall, we play to our opponent's skill level. The better the team, the better we play.
Yeah.
The worse the team, the worse we play.
And that needs to be adjusted. Like that's the next step in the evolution of getting where you want to be, is that you're not subject to that level of play. You come in with your level of play, right? Like, isn't that the next evolution of this?
Absolutely. You have to, if we go down to Navy, which I highly doubt that we do, just coming off last week, and hopefully, because we'd have to play pretty bad, and a lot of things would have to come to fruition, which again is possible. We never thought we'd lose to Stanford. We certainly never thought we'd lose to Marshall. But when you look at the breakdowns, Marshall is 71 in FBS, Stanford's 95, Navy's 108. Navy's, with the issues that they have, they're 108 with the starting quarterback and some of the people that they had last week and the weeks before that. Right now, they're depleted and they're one of the worst in college football. So if we go down to Navy, this will be worse than Stanford, and this will be worse than Marshall. So if that happens,
but
again,
see, here's how I look at this. It's sick. Even if that happened, like I've been saying when I write my articles for Irish Wire too, for USA Today, I've been saying, well, at least Notre Dame's really inconsistent, and we're getting some on the high end too. So at least if it goes back down, we have a high end of inconsistency too. Inconsistency can't just mean bad. Like if you're going to be inconsistent, at least give me a high end of it, and beating Clemson would be the high end of inconsistency.
Yeah, that's what I said last time we spoke.
It's wild.
And, we've had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows this year.
Oh my gosh!
Seem to figure it out. I think
could you imagine that? Look at the lows we had. How do you go from losing to Marshall and Stanford to beating an undefeated top 4 team with championship pedigree? Like, it's just wild, and that's why we love this sport.
That's why a lot of people can't get over it. But again, like I said last time we spoke, anybody who saw the game, you saw what really happened. If you watch the game, I mean, there's a lot of people out there saying, hey, Notre Dame lost to these two teams and then beat Clemson. And so obviously Clemson's terrible. But, again, I think those are growing pains, and they're trying to figure out their way, and they're trying to figure out their identity, or trying to figure out their identity within the limitations that they currently have. And obviously that's not easy. I think and you asked about Tommy. I think Tommy in the beginning of the year thought that they're going to come out and they were going to have this prolific kind of complicated offense where we were going to change formations and do all sorts of stuff. And then they had to just kind of eat a little crow and say, okay, hey, listen, we don't have the personnel to do that. Let's tone it back and let's do what we know works.
Yeah.
And I think that they just had to accept that.
And that's frustrating though. And listen, I understand that that's frustrating. And I understand that Reese had an offense he wanted to run and his vision that made everybody look good. It took them a while to realize they don't have the talent this year to run it the way he wants to run it. And the measure of the best coaches is making what you have work for you. So it did take a while to calibrate that down. And it was frustrating to have to go through that. Now we're hopeful we're in a better place. So what do you think tomorrow? Notre Dame, is this a blowout? Do we not get enough possessions to make it a blowout? How do you see it going tomorrow? Give me an area of score prediction here.
I think the front four are going to do a good job. I think hopefully we're not going to see those long drives. We're going to get the ball back. And then I think we're going to run it. My hope, the kind of thing I keep thinking is, hey, maybe these guys are a little bit smaller. Maybe we could try to throw the ball a little bit more because Pine can actually see over the friggin' defensive lineman and not get all the balls.
I was making that joke too. The only problem is he's got to throw it over Joe Alt too, right on our side, and he's a monster.
Man, that guy is a stud. He's just awesome.
Do you realize
for what he brings to the table?
3 years ago he was 220 pounds and now he's almost 100 pounds heavier. In 2019 he was 220 pounds. He's gained almost 100 pounds and built that NFL body up, and it's unbelievable.
Yeah, the guy is he's a force, and he's only going to get better. That's what I think that's takeaway from the last few weeks that you're seeing as we win, as we put it together. Joel, super young. I mean, Morrison, super young. You estimate pretty. I mean, all the guys that we have are pretty young. So I think the future's bright, and we'll see kind of how it goes. But again, QB is still a problem. It is still an issue. And I've heard and read and been aware of, there's been a few people that have flipped their recruitment from Clemson or due to the Clemson game. I want to say maybe 3 or 4 kids that have committed just since the Clemson game. And I apologize because I can't.
It's a big deal.
Names,
you win, 3 or 4 kids. Man. You win a game like this. It just opens everything up, man. And all that negative recruiting against Freeman, can he learn on the job? Do you sure you want to go here? You put all that to rest. So I think I'm hopeful. It could be a little stressful tomorrow, but I think we'll pull it all together, win comfortably, and we keep it moving. Anything else as we wrap up? I want to get some more folks going here.
Tell you what, I just want to hear about some movement in the quarterback space.
I know.
I hear about defensive backs and linemen.
Yep.
And I hear about obviously safeties and wide receivers. Like, give me something on the quarterbacks. Like, what are we working on? And maybe it's kind of hush hush right now. But hey, I think we're going to win. I think we're going to get it figured out. I think next week, I think it's going to be a good litmus test to see how pumped out we come and we come out and we play this game. Like I said, off campus game, not at home, should be pretty good. We'll be talking about it next week. So John, have a great day. Always appreciate you taking the time to listen to us kind of rant out about Notre Dame. And I'll just say go Irish and happy Veterans Day.
Beautiful. That's what I'm here for. Thanks for the call, my friend. Have a good one. Enjoy the ball game. All right, we're going to go. We got a bunch more callers. 609-562-707 coming up, and then we got a couple after that. Nick Shepkowski picks her up on Fighting Irish Wire, by the way. Go check him out. Go take a look. No offense to Nick, but he picked it wrong last week. That's on him. That's a bad look. Managing editor of The Wire. Can't even pick the big game right. That's a shame, Nick. That's a shame. We're going to have to work on that. Listen, Kent, I saw that I want to get back to the calls because there's a lot of them today and I want to get through them. Kent said something like, lay off Brian Kelly. He tried to win in Notre Dame the best he can. Kent, I don't think you have access to all the information I have, Kent. Whenever you're asked, what's Notre Dame's relationship with this top flight 5-star quarterback, you ask behind the scenes. You're told, oh, Kelly barely knows him. Oh, awesome. What happened on his official visit when he came in for the USC game last year? Kelly didn't really have the time of day to spend with him and get to know him. So they really don't have that good of a relationship. Oh, okay, cool. You think I'm just supposed to accept that? Yeah, you did, Kent. Yes, you did. You said something like, that man's tried as hard as he could at Notre Dame. Let me see if I start it, because now you got me all messed up. Where is it? I don't think I did. Something about that man tried as hard as he could at Notre Dame or something. That's where I got to push back on you, man. Wasn't willing to get on that private jet, take that flight. A few more phone calls and texts. The dude quitted at Notre Dame, I feel like. You all heard that phrase, quiet quitting, when you don't think you're getting a fair deal work. You just kind of check out and get your paycheck till they notice. All right, fine. You didn't say it, Kent. I swear you said something like it, but if you didn't, I'm not going to do you wrong, Kent. I will not. Oh, Brad, take a seat. John doesn't make up anything. Never have, never will. 609, you're on the line. What's going on?
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, John?
What's going on, man? Good morning there. What are your thoughts on what we saw last week from the Irish and what we might see this week?
Oh, shit. Well, excuse my language. Clemson, I thought we played damn well. We can't ignore that. Maybe, they're definitely not the great team Clemson has been, but they are still a good team with a lot of great talent on there. So haters just getting on that fact that you really can't argue the fact we beat Clemson. We throttled Clemson. So that's that. I feel that we will ride high into this game and dominate this game. Personal, traditional game. So, those games are always hard fought.
Yep.
I do think we come out on top big, 42-17. And that's just because we manhandle them. I think we ride this season out fairly well going into the USC game at least. So
yeah, and man, it sets up really nice. If Notre Dame can run this, BC has their problems. They're a historical rival as well. And I think 93 BC is no Notre Dame fan's ever going to not look at BC a certain way because of 93 and always have it in their mind. But you run over Navy, you take care of BC, and then you go into USC, and you know what you do to them? You out-physical them up front. That's how you beat USC. You run the ball down their throat, knowing they're weak up front and in the middle and strong outside. And you dominate that game in LA up front on both sides of the ball. That's the roadmap here, isn't it?
I wholeheartedly agree. I've been saying it since we started picking up our pace. Our biggest problem, I feel, is Pine. He's a good quarterback. He's too damn small. He's not able to maneuver to be able to make the plays. So he's too inconsistent. He has a few good plays. But really, we have to maintain and be able to run the ball, or at least screen plays. And you know what I mean? That way we can be able to get to our receivers because we have the talent. We have the talent all around the ball. There's no arguing that, minus the quarterback. Personally, I'd like to see Angeli come in just because he is a taller quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Really haven't seen him throw the ball or move. So to see him would be nice, especially if we get up during a Navy game. Throw him in there, get some pass plays in. He's a big dude. So, and he comes from Jersey, North Jersey. I'm from Jersey myself. So, and from what I've heard, gathered from him in high school and everything, he seemed fairly well. I think their team won the championship. So, you know, he's a good quarterback coming out of high school and definitely bigger than Pine.
Yeah, and we've been saying a lot of these games, you know, like the Stanford game, I was saying, man, what a good opportunity to get Angeli in there a little bit, you know, and it just never happened.
I said the same thing.
Right? And you're like, you right when you think maybe this is a game will be up enough you could do that sort of thing. It doesn't happen. So like I'm hopeful for that this week. But I'll believe it when I see it. Any concern about the way Navy plays, eating up the clock, the low blocks? Does that annoy you? Do you like watching it because it's just something different than the normal gameplay? Where are you at on that?
I mean, coming from Navy, that's what they do, that and the triple option. So they were always thrived on that forever. And it's, again, always been a game that Notre Dame had to handle correctly and lightly because they were capable of doing so. I really don't think it'll be an issue for us. Handle the ball correctly, and once we start pounding the ball down their throat and moving them around, it'll lighten up and the momentum will be in our favor.
Yep.
So we will beat them up and take care of business in Baltimore. I wish I was there, but I think that game we do rout them. And going into BC, like I said, that's, again, if we're not playing Power 5 programs, big schools, even in still, every single one of our games are a rivalry game. It's always personal, whether it's tradition, you know, whatever. It's always a certain type of game, so we always get their best. You know, they're always putting forth that extra effort because it is a certain type of game. And then we, knowing that, like Stanford and Freeman was saying, you know, about that game, it's a rivalry game. True at heart, it might not have that heart or intensity as it once did because Stanford's been down, but it is a rivalry game.
And the other thing, like
Navy, I think will always be on the schedule simply because of the history.
Mm-hmm.
There are other, I mean, UNLV, those types of games and shit like that. Excuse my language. They can get replaced, I feel, but put Navy in the beginning of the season. Make that the first game of the year like they did in Dublin. I'm fine with that. But putting it in November, it's either going to hurt us really bad or you know, it kind of gives us no push at all and where we need that push. But if we run through Navy and BC, we get up a couple spots, beat USC at the end of the year at the Coliseum, we will be in the top 10. We will have an NY6 bowl bid, guaranteed.
Man, what an impressive turnaround after your third loss before mid-October. To wrap that up and turn it around that way would be incredible. And you bring up a really good point. Every team Notre Dame plays, Notre Dame is a game circled. If it isn't their number one game, it's number two to their biggest rivalry game. And I feel like that gets overlooked. Notre Dame is a school everybody wants to beat. It's always a big game, whether it's home, away, or neutral. Everybody wants to beat Notre Dame.
They said that's the game they circle on the calendar.
Right. And that's hard for Notre Dame, though, because you can't fake emotion. The emotion of that build up to the Clemson game was different than when really bad and boring Stanford comes to town. Like, you can't fake the emotion, but it's your job to get up and win it.
That's another thing. Our fan base has been crap at the games. No, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to just be disrespectful, but the Clemson game, that's something we haven't seen in a while, my point, you know what I mean, my perspective. They were crazy. I wasn't there, but watching it and hearing it on the TV, I mean, it was just insane. And I haven't heard that come from the fans at the stands.
Now, man, listen, here's what I'll say. Be in there and go into the game. I said going into the game, here's what we really need tonight. We need a reason to get the fans engaged early. And if you do that, they'll be in it all night. What happened? We ended up getting the punt block right away in the midway first quarter. From then on, everybody was engaged and we never stopped and the momentum built and it all went great. Like, we got exactly what we needed. That place was loud. And it's just, we needed that.
A big factor that we needed to continue with that for sure.
Yep. So what do you think tomorrow? Big win, annoying win, close win, loss? What do you think?
I think it'll start off a little bit annoying. but that's just getting used to the ball. There might be a big player too. We might struggle a little bit because of Pine, but I think we get the momentum going with our running backs, and then we start hitting a couple small plays because, they said, defensive line's a little bit smaller, so Pine might be able to get some throws off. And by the end of third, beginning of fourth, we have Angelian.
There you go.
42-17. Go Irish.
Ooh, I love that. Beautiful. Like that prediction, and I like seeing Angeli. Thanks for the call, my friend. Enjoy the ball game.
All right, bud. Take it easy.
Take care. Oh, I just hit something on this screen. What is going on? Rough week for me with the technology, I'm telling you. Everything I touch has gone to crap. Jeez. Okay, here's the deal. Okay, Huffer Billy Paw is back. The Clemson fan who likes the show. And I got to tell you, I appreciate it. Huffer Billy was here even before it was Clemson week, just because he likes the show. And then we have Clemson week and we won, and he's back and he's saying to ND fans, congratulations. Huffer Billy, you're the kind of college football fan everybody needs in their ecosystem. Okay? Kent, it's fine, Kent. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I put your words on the screen. Wow, John, Kelly made it about him. How? He tried to win for ND. I'm telling you how. Not trying as hard as it takes to build relationships with top recruits is not trying your hardest, Kent. It isn't. And every behind-the-scenes insider I asked said, Kelly is not doing what it takes to recruit well enough at Notre Dame. I did not say in the SEC. I did not say anywhere in America. I said at Notre Dame. It takes a unique type of effort to recruit well at Notre Dame. It does. And Kelly just checked out, man. He did. Every time I asked where these things were, I was told Kelly doesn't value him. He ain't on that. So that's where my problem was. It wasn't just high-level game results. It was knowing that people are telling me the effort wasn't there. And I can't live with an effort thing being a problem from the head coach. But I just started getting told he wasn't recruiting hard enough and had no reason to try and change it. And he just wasn't willing to, man. It's very hard to operate like that and support your head coach when behind the scenes, I'm told, Johnny doesn't have any relationships with these quarterbacks. You're not getting them. Don't worry about it. How long am I supposed to deal with being told that before it gets old? It was time to move on. It was time to move on. It just was. Brian Hartline. I love Brian Hartline, Kent. I love Brian Hartline. Is there any way that Freeman could get the band back together with Laurinaitis and a Hartline and get that guy over here? Because I love that guy. And the way he recruits is fantastic. 562, we're talking to you. 707 after that. 937 next. 703 after that. What's going on? Good morning.
Good morning, John. Happy Veterans Day. Happy Navy Week.
It all lines up perfect that we play them in Navy Week. So what's your mind frame like this week? Are you got a little bounce in your pep in your step after the win last week? Or are we nervous about Navy, or where are we at?
I mean, yeah, dude. We're all happy, clearly. I mean, for all your callers, we're all ecstatic. I mean, we're all on the same page, too. I freaking hate this week, man. Like, it's just that triple option. It's just ridiculous, dude. I don't know.
You sound frustrated already. You sound frustrated with the option already. The game hasn't even started. It's a full day away, and I could see your eyes rolling. Tackle him down the pitch, man. Stay in your lane. I could see it already.
I cannot freaking make this up. I remember this clearly. I don't know what season it was. It had to have been at least a good 5-6 years ago. But Navy at one point in the first quarter on their first drive took up almost one entire quarter. 15 minutes of play. One entire quarter. And like that's just like, I mean, we come off a good win. Vegas is already shaving points off the spread. They know that, we're talented, we're physical up front, we can dominate that, but it's just like that the amount of time we have is very limited.
Yep.
And then when you have somebody like Drew Pine as our quarterback, can he make those plays? Can he make good reads?
All right. Now let me ask this then. Do you just neutralize that by looking at the bulk we have up front compared to theirs and then saying we're running Estime with a couple extra tight ends? We're just going to move the pile. You're going to get 5 yards average. And then if we want to throw it, we throw it. Or if they stack the box and sell out, we throw it. Like, am I being naive or selling Navy short by saying if that's the deal, why worry about that risk? Line up and run the ball. Count that you're going to be able to blow them off the ball even if they stack the line. Am I oversimplifying it?
No, now you're thinking like Vegas. Vegas is like, okay, well, if they're just going to make this into a running match, it's not going to be a high-scoring game. They're just going to chew time off the clock. Like, there's going to be like touchdown scored, but it's not going to be like an overly competitive game where there's an air raid and there's people running down the field, and it's a standard, college football game that takes about like 3 hours or so.
Right.
Like, if that's the case, then yeah, I don't think that, we can do that. Obviously, Estime's a dog. We all know that.
Yep.
He's showing up every single game. And
man, him and Diggs, him
now.
and Diggs are both, man. Last week, those guys were running both so hard, so good, inside, outside, inside, and outside, just like Rockney said. It was absolutely beautiful. So what do you expect? A little frustration adjusting to the option, and then we end up start taking control, or how do you see the dynamic going?
I hope we can see a dominant game here, and I hope Al Golden has a good defensive plan to stop that triple option. I would like to see Steve Angeli hit the field for a good amount of time, at least a whole quarter if possible.
But here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that. The way we talked about Navy shortening the game, are we sure Notre Dame's going to have enough possessions to get ahead by enough that then they go to the guy who hasn't thrown a pass yet this year? Like, that's my question about wanting Angeli to play this week is, unless there's a bunch of mistakes and turnovers, it's very hard to get up 3 scores on a team like Navy because of the way they operate and eat up the clock. So that's my question with that.
Yeah, I don't feel confident. I mean, we every single game this year, whether it's been like good or bad, we haven't really had the opportunity to put them on the field. So do I feel confident in a Navy game where they're chewing down clock and maybe we don't have enough possessions to feel comfortable putting Angeli out there? I don't. Like, just by the history of this season and how we're shaping up against Navy, I don't see it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. At this point, I just think Notre Dame fans would I don't want to say take any win. It's going to be frustrating if it's annoyingly close, but you just got to find a way not to fall into the trap we've been falling in, playing bad against lower level teams. So what would your prediction be? 2-score win or 2 closer than that? Where do you see this going?
I mean, I can see it like a 21-7. I don't even think we covered the spread, honestly.
We got to score more than 21.
Down to 15.5.
Don't we? We got to score more than 21.
I hope we do, man. Like, trust me, I hope we do. But I'm just, like I said, dude, I'm not feeling confident about. I mean, yeah, we can drive the ball downfield, but dude, I'm gonna quote one of your tweets.
That's scary. That's scary.
Drew Pine. When you talk about Drew Pine, you just said he's short. Like, and it's true. Like, can he make passes? Like, is he going to make the right reads? I know we play well away, but I mean, I don't know, man. It's just the way that we've been playing Navy historically. That this triple option is, I don't know, man. Doesn't make me feel good. And then, like, now that CFP rankings are here, like, I would hope we drive up the score. And I hope that they don't be like, oh, well, here's
listen. Notre Dame has a realistic chance to end the season in the top 10 after having their 3rd loss on October 15th. That would be super impressive. Yeah. And if you're going to end the year that way, ticking up that much, pile it on, man. Do whatever you could do. I love throwing for that extra touchdown last week, the little extra touch. Notre Dame could have ran the ball, but they threw it, tried to score. That indicated to me that there's a new mentality here. I love that. So I'm just like you. Wait and see, and I'm going to have a coffee and a whiskey there at 11 a.m., and I'm going to see which one I need first thing. We're going to see.
Probably the whiskey first.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, man, but thanks for the call. Enjoy the game. Give me a call afterwards. We'll reconnect.
Yeah, buddy. Go Irish.
Have a good one. Thank you. We're having a good troll week, man. I'm telling you, every single thing I said, Brad's on the opposite. If ND's a top 10 team, I'm going to stop watching college football. I didn't say they are now. I'm saying the way it's all working out, if they end up beating Clemson and USC and other things fall their way, I think they could get close to that, right? 4 top 10, 4 top 15 or 20 wins, like whatever. It doesn't really, I'm saying it doesn't really matter to me where they end up. It's not like we're going to the playoff. That's the ultimate goal, and it's out. I know that. Tough crowd sometimes, you know? Tough crowd out here. 707, what's going on today?
Hello?
707, are you with me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, John? I'm still recovering from the screaming session at last week's game, man.
Man,
I'm still trying to get my voice back, but I want to tell you happy Veterans Day to you and a happy Friday, sir.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for that. We got a good group in here, a very respectful and appreciative group of our veterans. And we have a lot of veterans, folks that have served in the chats here. I didn't realize that many people served. So we honor all of you and your families. It's a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah, I served from 01 to 06 and then from 07 to 09.
Well, thank you very much.
So
appreciate you.
Many deployments, sir, you know, but it's all good, man. It's all good. My pleasure. But check this out, man. Regarding the game on Saturday, excuse me, I think that this is a perfect game for us. I'm going to tell you why. Although I don't like the Navy game, I think this is a perfect game coming off of a big win for us to test our mettle. Because there is no gimme games. There has never been any gimme games when it comes to our team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All you got to do is look at Marshall and 1-7 Stanford to, you know, or 1-6 or whatever they were when they beat us at home. So we have no gimme games. So what I would like to see in this game is, do we still have juice left over from last week?
Yep.
And I have to disagree with the last caller about this situation. Run the damn ball. Run the damn ball. And last week, there was at least 7 or 8 running plays where they were shoestring tackles. Had we, you know, I think we can have a lot of long runs in tomorrow against Navy, which will then in turn open up some of those passing.
That's kind of how I see it too.
If it ain't broke, why fix it?
Yep.
Don't get cute.
Yep.
Don't get cute.
Yep.
Like you did with Marshall and Stanford.
Yeah. Last week showed you you don't have to get that cute if you can run it like that. And if you can run it like that on Clemson's front, don't tell me you can't do it against Navy and name your yardage. I'm with you. Do that and then find Mayer open over the middle against guys half his size when you want. That's kind of my plan.
Yes. You know what I appreciate with Tommy Reese? He pissed me off half the season. But what I appreciate about the last couple of games is him adjusting and just making the game plan simple. Make it simple. Get back to the basics, and you do the basics well 90% of the time, and you maintain discipline.
don't shoot yourself in the foot, play the basics well, 90% of the time, you could probably win the game, or at least you will be in the game to win it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So don't get cute, none of that smash mouth football that has been working. Why change it up?
Yeah. Yep.
You know, that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. Now
That's
let
what
me ask
I'm
this.
worried about.
Now let me flip it on you. That's offensively. Flip it on defense. Are you concerned about that triple option at all? Is it going to be annoying? Are we going to let them eat up 9 minutes and drive down the field on last second pitches? Like, any concern about that?
No, I'm not concerned about that. I'm going to tell you why. We have played Navy the past 3 or 4 years with a shorter, slower defense and basically shut them down. You see what I'm saying? Now, and our defense, they practice against our three-headed monster every day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, and we are faster, we're longer, and we're playing freer because we're starting to trust each other. You know what I'm saying? And there's a coach, Marcus Freeman coached against Navy last year. We whooped them 30, upper 30s to 6 or something like that. I'm not concerned about our defense at all. No, I'm not.
Yeah. Well, hey man,
No.
I hope
I think that we will.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right, because it'd be really enjoyable to watch Notre Dame play that early window game and my hair not fall out. It'd be really nice.
I know, right?
It would be, man. The Navy game stresses me out, man. And you look at the clock and you go, holy crap, there goes almost a whole quarter out of nowhere. Like, it just, the time flies when you play them.
I understand, but it wasn't like that when Marcus Freeman was our DC last year.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was before that. I can see the concern before last year because every year we would get a major injury from one of our guys. They would eat up the clock, and it was just too close for comfort.
Right.
And I hated that. Last year, going into that game, I was nervous as hell because I had no idea how the new defensive coordinator would handle the triple option from Navy. And he figured it out. Now, year 2, him in charge and having a faster, longer, and becoming more disciplined defense, I'm not concerned, man.
There you go.
No,
well, that's beautiful then. So what's your, give me a score prediction here as we wrap up. Where do you think this falls?
55-3.
What?
55-3.
Ooh. Now we're cooking.
55, John.
Now we're cooking.
55-3.
Ooh.
You understand what I'm saying?
I mean,
and
I understand.
Don't get those 3 points. They don't get those 3 points until garbage time.
Man,
and that's because that's all we're gonna let them have.
That's beautiful, man.
Really?
I like this.
I'm tired of this shit, man.
I like this, man.
Don't be playing down to your. Don't play down to the competition. You go out there and you take the daggone game.
Yeah.
You understand?
Thanks for catching yourself, by the way. I caught where you were almost headed there. Thanks. I like that.
I'm serious, man.
I love this. I love how you're getting worked up, man. This is what I'm talking about. I love this. I like that. 55-3, baby. That's what we expect, and I love that prediction. Are you going to call me back and let me know how it goes?
I'm tired of these 30s. I'm tired of these 40, a little bit over 40 every now and again. We are leaving all these points on the board. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, man.
This game and next week's game, the games you catch up on those garbage points and go into USC nice, relaxed, fast, disciplined, and whoop some butt. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good plan.
It starts now. This is the test, not Clemson. This is the test.
Man, I like this. I like this call. This is one of my favorite calls of the year, my friend. Thank you very much for this. Get back at me and we'll revisit this and see if your prediction comes close. and how you feel about the game. Enjoy it tomorrow, my friend. Great call. Thank you.
You too, John. All right, man.
Have a good one. Rest
Go
that
on.
voice, man. Rest that voice for tomorrow. What a good call. I like that energy, man. I really like that energy. Brad, I'm going to give you credit. This is an exact quote that I did say. So, Brad, I thank you for paying attention. I think I even made this a short video. And I said something about after the Ohio State game, we were prepping for Marshall. And I said, if you can't beat Marshall, what is the point of life? And sure enough, we didn't beat Marshall. So therefore, I rhetorically ask, what is the point of life? I guess that's fair because I did ask it and I did mean it. 937, good morning. What's on your mind today?
Hey, John. I got a couple of things on my mind here.
Sure, go ahead.
I know we're all real excited that we beat Clemson. It would beat them convincingly, but I'm still annoyed with Tommy Rees. I hear people say, "I'll give credit where credit is due." Tommy had a brilliant game, this and that. But when you look at it, let's look at it. If our defense and our special teams played how they played against Ohio State, which was just hold the other team, kind of thing, not get a punt block, we scored the ball twice. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
We had 2 drives. So to say this guy was a genius, he did a great job. He did the same thing he does every time. Except this time, the only thing that was different is that this time he had 2 drives where he ran the ball 10 times, both of them. 10 runs and 1 very deliberate pass.
Yeah.
That's how those drives went.
Yep.
Which, great. Love it. Let's do that every drive. 0 for 6 on third down pass completion. And I don't have anything wrong with throwing on third down. I don't want to be too mean to Pine, but like on a 3rd and 4, I think we had 2 3rd and 4s and we passed it early in the game. And it's just incomplete. And also, got to also say this, out of those 20 runs, how many times did Audric Estime run the ball? 11 times. He also ran the ball twice on our 14-yard drive after the interception. So he's up to 13 rushes. He only had 18 the whole game. So, once I'm getting annoyed with he's not letting the best aspect of our team be the best. That's the annoying thing to me.
Yeah.
Now, could Tommy, and also I do want to say, this kind of goes into Brian Kelly a little bit too. Colin Cowherd said, Brian Kelly, look what happens when Brian Kelly has talent, right? He goes and he beats Alabama. Well, that's awesome, but in that statement, you're omitting, as a college coach anywhere in college coaching, there's 2 aspects to you being a great coach: coaching the game and recruiting the talent. And we'll see how everybody assumes Brian Kelly's going to keep getting talent while he's there at LSU. That's only an assumption. His team could get worse over the next 5 years. I'm just saying, this might be the most talent he ever has.
Yeah.
And then when you look at us, I'm telling you, I really do believe this is why Marcus Freeman was hired. Marcus Freeman he walks in. We got a top 10 recruiting class. Now we got a number 3 right now. We'll see where all this ends up, but it should be another top 10. That's better than the last decade practically. And Lou Holtz, he had the horses, and we still had academic standards. But then we're all saying, we can't get the guys because we have some bums in Davies, Wise, Willingham. And then Kelly just seemed like he just thought, I think from his predecessor, you just can't get those guys. That's what I've kind of heard, looking into the whole thing. He kind of had a defeatist attitude, from the get-go. And so Marcus Freeman, he's going to get the horses. And so that narrative, I think, is going to get blown out of the water, saying you just can't get them. I think you just got to know how to get them, And
that makes sense. And I get the Tommy stuff is fair. The Tommy stuff is fair. If you want to say he had a good game plan last week based on what it was going to take for us to win the game, I agree with you. But that doesn't mean that it's not ideal that your best game plan involves minimizing the impact your quarterback has in the game. Like, we need to acknowledge all of this exists in the same fishbowl at the same time. Like, I credit him for putting together the plan it had to be for Notre Dame to get the result they got last week. That is great. It still doesn't fix the quarterback problem. It still doesn't fix inadequate recruiting and development. It doesn't make Drew Pine 6 inches taller. It's all true at the same time.
Well, I think he's just getting too much credit for there being 35 points on the board. I think everybody just looked at the box score at the end and said, wow, we had 35 points.
Yeah, 263 rushing.
260 yards rushing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, this was impressive. But when you break it down, Tommy Rees was really he scored from 14 yards out. I hope he can score from 14 yards out. But beyond that, he was responsible for 14 of the 35. You know, we had a pick six, and we had a punt return, and we intercepted on the 14-yard line. So, like, our defense, I look at it, our defense special teams was responsible for 21, essentially, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, no, that's totally true. Listen, I've thought of this same way you have. You're right about that. Like, I've had people ask me, I think my dad even asked me this. He said, how much credit are you going to give Tommy Rees for realizing running the ball is what you need to do and, like, focus on that? Like, how much credit does he get for realizing what we all knew the way to beat Clemson was? Like, fine, but at least he did it, I guess.
Well, but he barely did it, you know?
So let me ask this. Do you think Tommy Rees is back after this year? Yes or no?
Well, I think he's going to be, and I think that we're going to be sorely disappointed again next year. That, like, I want to beat Ohio State, and I want to win a national championship, and he's never going to bring in the recruits. Maybe Marcus Freeman brings them in for him.
Right, but even if Freeman brought him in, where's the development? Even if Freeman brings him in.
But Freeman's going to have a hard time bringing in guys who know that, like, he's the head coach, but my position coach matters too, you know, and my offensive coordinator matters too. Look, if I was Tyler Buckner and I knew Tommy Rees was coming back, I'd transfer because I know this guy had no clue how to use me in the 2 games that I played.
Yeah,
he made me the number one. He made me the number 1 rusher. And he threw the ball like 30 times against Marshall. Like,
yeah,
we didn't even, he needs to be a compliment to what the offense is. And so, yeah, I have a hard time believing that Marcus Freeman's going to be able to do all the recruiting. And so, I look at it this way: could Tommy Rees go win a national championship, being the offensive coordinator at, like, Alabama? I think that's possible. Like, I really do. But like I said, there's 2 aspects here. You got to be able to coach and you got to be able to recruit. And I just don't think, it's kind of hand in hand with Brian Kelly stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't think he's the guy for us, you know?
Yeah.
So, and here's an interesting thought. I know we do need a quarterback, you know, at minimum, we just need somebody who can be a backup quarterback. Like Tyler Buckner as a backup quarterback, it would be fine. We want to have to deal with like Drew Pine, you know. Why don't you go to a place like Wake Forest that's scoring a bunch of points and just say, hey, why don't we hire their offensive coordinator and bring his quarterback with them? So that's kind of what happened when USC hired the Oklahoma guy. Like, oh, we're going to hire you and you bring your quarterback with you. So you might be able to get 2 for 1 in a scenario like that, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Where you get,
I mean, don't you agree?
Yeah,
don't you agree?
It's an interesting thought, you know?
But do you agree? Depending on what happens with 23 recruiting, if they don't land a guy in 23, they're going to have to get a portal guy no matter what. Don't you think? If you don't land a high-end 23 guy, you're going to have to go into that portal.
I absolutely agree, which is also why I think if you truly wanted to make your team better, you know, like we still don't have anything to necessarily play for except just to kind of prove like who we are kind of thing.
Yeah.
Against Navy, you need to play the freshmen just to know what you have in the freshmen. Because look, what if the freshman goes out there But
now wait a second. Wait a second. What if I push back on you and said Navy is the game I'm not playing young guys because it requires so much perfect discipline to beat Navy, and you're so limited in your possessions. You got to be on point. Some people would say Navy's a bad game to be able to do all this because sometimes guys that have played them 2 or 3 times have a better, idea of where to be and how to defend it. What do you think about that?
But look, you're either trying to get better or you're just trying to ride the ship out.
To get by.
And I understand if you're trying to get better, because essentially what we have said with Drew Pine is Drew Pine's not improving this year. He's actually been regressing. He's our biggest liability. Everybody agrees with that. And we're just going to have him throw the ball about 15 times, and hope that he hits the right passes. And that to me is not like saying we want to get better. And so you got to look at the future too. You can't just if we would lose to Navy, you lose to Navy. I mean, we already lost to Stanford and Marshall, but look at the upside that exists there. What if the freshman kid comes in and he goes like 12 for 15 passes and passes for 150 yards and a touchdown? And you say, wow, he made throws that Pine hasn't made. And then you go into Boston College and you say, well, let's try it again. And then against Boston College, he has another really good game. Then you're going into USC. And then what happens if you play USC, who's like number 5, and you absolutely blow them out? And maybe your offense actually scores 40 points and your defense didn't have to score any points. And then people are looking at you at the end of the year saying, wow, Notre Dame is really tough. But we all know that our offense is not going to put up more than 3 touchdowns in a game. All right? And that's just what we are. And we're not play calling it any different way. So that's my take on it. I want us to keep trying to get better. It's kind of like when we were losing, we were like, oh, well, we want to try and get better. So we should try and play guys who maybe could make us better. On defense, we do it. Look, who won that game for us? Essentially, Ben Morrison.
Freshman.
And he was a freshman.
Yep.
A freshman won the game for us. That's part of the reason,
Yep. You bring up good points. I'm still saying what I've been saying. Notre Dame is not reaching their ultimate goals, which is making and winning any playoff games without really, really good quarterback play, if not elite, and great talent around them. And we're not there yet. So you do what you could do with the idea being in your mind. That's what needs to happen for this to really get to the next level. I
think about the worst quarterback that you can have is about a Tyler Buckner, because I look at him and I look at some of the Alabama teams that won it with that's about where you could be. That's you're gonna. There's going to be a lot of other areas of your team that have to be super exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to look at Tyler Buckner and say this is the lowest we can go.
There you
Everybody that we recruit we have to say it's better than Tyler Buckner, or anybody that comes in through the portal, we have to say they are better than Tyler Buckner. Because, and I'm not saying Tyler Buckner, who knows what he could end up doing, but we did see him play twice. He did okay. He threw some picks against Marshall. But I think that's the bottom bar.
Yep.
I think you could do it with somebody like that.
It does. The whole group needs, that whole quarterback room needs to have a higher standard of everybody in it, even the backup, whatever. You need dudes, and it needs to change. The developmental arc has been terrible. Guys get worse, not better, the longer they're in the program. They transfer out, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It all needs to get better, and it needs to be looked at. And so that's where we need to get. So I need to get a couple more people in here, but I want you to give me a score prediction after all this discussion. Where are we going to end up tomorrow, man? What do you think?
Well, I don't think we score over 30. If I have to give a score prediction, I say it's 24-7.
There you go. And that makes sense because you're figuring limited possessions by us and then doing a good job on defense, but they still eat up the clock. That'd be interesting. And let's reconnect next week and see how this all played out. Good call. Thanks, man.
Yep. All right.
Have a good one, buddy. Thank you.
You too.
Brad says, there's been some things 505, you're coming up next. Brad says the portal has become a massive coaching tool that can make or break a coach. Notre Dame has to get involved 100%. Brad, I disagree with some of the stuff you say when I know you're trolling me to get my blood pressure up. That one, I agree with you 100%. I do. Notre Dame needs to get involved there. There's no way you're going to be able to compete if you can't. When all Notre Dame has is their recruiting to go off of to fill gaps and add depth and all that. And then you could come in and just pick up 24 guys in the portal to fill all your gaps right away. How can Notre Dame compete with that when you have to be perfect in recruiting and that's your only way? And these other schools could bring in 24 guys in a year and fill their gaps right away. Notre Dame has got to find a way to be able to accept more undergrad transfers and get involved, or it's going to be nearly impossible to compete. It's just you're going up. You would almost have to be perfect when you can only build your team off your recruiting and everybody else can go get a dozen guys, fill your gaps. Notre Dame has got to be more involved in that, and they have got to be more open to NIL. Not the blank check bull crap, but genuine NIL, get some publicity around it. Both of those need to happen for Notre Dame to get where they want to get, in my opinion. 505, make it come alive. What's going on today?
Hey, man, I'm a big, Notre Dame fan, and I'm looking forward to the game. The one thing I don't like about the Navy game is that it's bigger for Navy than us. Yep. Because you look at who they recruit. If they're going after kids looking to go in the military, they can say, hey, who can still serve our country, and you can come and play a older game every year. And that's big for them. So this game is always big. It always makes me nervous.
Yep. It
reminds me of Georgia fans were complaining about this too when Georgia Tech was on their, were on their run. Most of the time you're going to beat them, but you're going to pull out your hair every time on them.
Yep. And let me ask this, man. I always struggle with this. Everybody knows that when Notre Dame's on anybody else's schedule, it's going to be the number 1 or 2 circled game. And the only reason it wouldn't be number 1 is if we play Michigan and they have Ohio State and Michigan State. I understand that. But we're going to get everybody's best shot. We are everybody's Super Bowl. It is a big deal to play them. When you're Navy playing the schedule Navy plays, getting up to the level to play the Notre Dame, it's all a big deal to them. And I don't blame Notre Dame for not getting as up. You can't fake the emotion that was last week's game to now play 3-loss Navy. It's just not the same. Yeah. But you have to be strong enough mentally as a team to know where you need to get your mind to be able to do what you need to do and win this game no matter what that energy's like. Sometimes that's a challenge for Notre Dame. I don't know if we're going to sleepwalk into this game hungover from reading our own press clippings, or if we're going to go in there fired up from last week and run these guys over. I don't know which it's going to be, or somewhere in the middle. What do you think? What do you think we're going to look like starting this game?
We have to be a little bit. We still have some stuff to prove. We have to still have a little a juice in us, because we can't come out, with Navy or this. That happened for Marshall. We stayed in for Ohio State. We're good. We lost.
Yep.
Stanford, we came in on a few game, a winning streak, lollygag, lost. We can't. I'm not saying that we're going to lose. I don't think we're going to lose, but we have to come in with some juice, because people, they're giving us praise, but they have a short mindset where if, this game is close, right? It was just one game. Clemson didn't play good, but we have to play some juice. And that brings us on to our next point is I think it's very important for us to finish the season strong and win the bowl game. People nowadays are saying the bowl games don't matter and this and that. I'm not a believer in that. I think bowl games still matter because if Notre Dame wins their bowl game, whoever it is, it's going to bring them so much like a juice into the postseason and all that next year. Like we have to win our bowl game.
Yeah, it would be really nice. I don't know how realistic this is or not. I kind of wrote this off. Maybe I'll ask you and you know. I got people now saying us being in a New Year's 6 game is not off the table at 9-3. I kind of thought 10-2 was that line of making it into one of the big New Year's 6s. If there's any way to sneak in there at 9-3 and then have a chance to knock that big bowl game thing off in Freeman's first full year, second big bowl game, that would be a big deal. I don't even know if that's realistic for us with 3 losses, though. People are saying it. People are saying it. I don't know.
They're saying it a little bit, and I've been thinking about that. I was thinking about that at like work the other day. What bowl game can we get into? I like to look, look up the bowl projections. They have a lot of like a Gator Bowl predictions. Us versus Florida.
I was gonna ask,
and that would be a very good one.
Yeah, Florida, that would be interesting. I don't want to bring this up because I don't want to cause a panic. But there are paths for Notre Dame and LSU to end up in a post game this year against each other. Look at the records. The records are pretty similar. Like, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to get everybody excited. I'm just saying that's on the table. Could you imagine? Could you wrap your mind around that buildup?
I was thinking
Imagine
about that
it.
too. I was thinking about that too. And there's also a path to Bama too, which if we play like LSU.
Oh my God. I didn't even think of that one. I was so worried about Kelly. Game. I'm so Kelly-fied. I didn't even think about that angle. That's another good one.
Yeah, because if we get a big name bowl game, we have to win it no matter what. That will bring in so much to our program.
And it would the recruiting, it'd be a big recruiting boost too, all of that.
Oh my God, because last year when we lost the Fiesta Bowl, we were fired up before. People were talking about us, Marcus Freeman, but I felt air go out of the tire when we lost the bowl game. Big lead, we lost it, and we went to off season. I wasn't feeling that good in the off season after that.
Yeah.
But I compared the season where I'm doubtful us making New Year's 6 bowl. This is similar to our 2019 year. We went to the like a camping like a World Bowl. I think we're gonna get into a Capital One type bowl game, like that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But things are definitely trending up. The issue is we've fallen for this before. When Notre Dame played good this year, we bought into it, and then we were disappointed when it all fell back to earth. Hopefully, we can maintain the good vibes and energy from last week, play solid against Navy, beat up BC, bully USC up front, and then really be off to the races. Final score prediction for tomorrow, my friend. I'm putting you on the hook here. What do you think?
I think we can score a couple. People always say Navy runs out of the clock, but the past few years we've been scoring a good amount on Navy, so I think we can get up there.
I was thinking about that too. That you think that the limited possessions, but we found ways to do that the last couple of years. And every Navy team isn't the same.
Yeah,
this one has 3 wins. They have 3 wins. Not every Navy team's built the same. They have 3 wins for a reason against competition that's questionable. Come on, Irish, let's go.
I'm looking at 38-13. Solid win.
There you go.
Pull out a little bit late.
Yeah.
Nothing too dominant. Just get in there, get the job done. Comfortable lead, and then I think we'll win roughly 38-13.
Beautiful. Good prediction. Good conversation. Thanks for the call. Give me a call afterwards. We'll talk about how it went.
Thank you so much. I'm a first-time caller. I'm looking to call again.
Here's what you do, man. Here's what you do. You take that phone number and you program it as always, Irish. You don't have to plug in the number again. Just call me from now on.
Yes, sir. No problem. I'm looking forward to it.
Beautiful. Thank you for the call. Crystal clear line
Yes, sir.
quality too, man. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Call again.
Thank you.
I always love first-time callers. I love the repeats because they're the nuts and bolts of the show, the same characters. It's beautiful. You always need new people. I love it. Huffer Billy, I really appreciate you, man. Isn't the easiest week to be a Clemson guy and voluntarily jump into the chat of a Notre Dame program? And Huffer Billy's done it, and it's stand-up stuff. And so I really appreciate that, man. I just think that's very stand-up stuff. And I'll be honest, like, I love Pigskin Pete, and I'll be watching that show. If we got killed, I'm not tuning in. I'm not man enough to tune in and do that. I admit it. I'm not. I get too mad. There's no way I would jump in that chat and be in a good mood. I couldn't do it. So I respect you for that. All right, folks, we're going to have to end a couple minutes early today. I have a couple things I need to take care of. I see there's callers waiting. I really apologize. I can't get to everybody today. Life's calling, and I have some real life stuff I need to take care of. But we're going to get at it tomorrow, and we're going to see what's up before this game, and then we'll get into it next week. Hopefully, super chats and all that will be back sooner rather than later. But we're going to power through it anyways because the show must go on. Take care, everybody. Thanks for being here. Have a good one.